Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question is, can I analyze the case of Colby and Kristen Trickle? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. Colby Allen Trickle was born in November 1993 and lived in Hays, Kansas. This is about 2.5 hours northwest of Wichita. When he was 18 years old, he met a woman named Kristen, who was also 18. She had been born in California in August 1993. Her mother abandoned her when she was 2 years old. Eventually, Kristen made her way to Hays, Kansas, where she graduated from high school in 2013. Colby and Kristen married on April 25, 2014, and moved to Kansas City, but life in the big city was challenging. Colby was in the Army Reserve and had various jobs here and there, but did not make a lot of money. Kristen worked in a veterinary clinic. Finances were too tight to stay in Kansas City, so the couple moved back to Hays in early 2019. Colby continued to serve in the Army Reserve and pursued a career as a musician. He would often engage in a behavior he referred to as singing. Kristen worked in the gardening center of a Walmart store and had big plans to start a pet boarding business. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. During the early morning hours of October 31, 2019, Colby Trickle called 911 and told the operator that his wife had been killed. When the police arrived, they found 26-year-old Kristen Trickle in her bed with a .357 Magnum revolver positioned on her body. She had a single gunshot wound to the head. The bullet entered under her chin. First responders attempted CPR. As this was going on, Colby was on the front porch talking to officers. He mentioned how he liked the video games Call of Duty and Minecraft. Kristen died at the scene. Colby was interviewed by the police for 11 hours. He told them that a few hours before the shooting, Kristen came home after working at Walmart. They played video games until it was time to go to sleep. Colby went to bed first. He woke up to the sound of a gunshot. He looked over toward Kristen. It was clear that she had a gunshot wound and a revolver was on her neck. He called 911 and checked Kristen for a pulse, but he could not find one. He then grabbed the revolver and considered using it on himself. Ultimately, he decided against that plan and placed the revolver on Kristen's stomach. The police asked Colby if Kristen had a life insurance policy. He claimed that she did not. Only he had life insurance. 3 days later, on November 3, 2019, the coroner ruled that Kristen Trickle had brought an end to her own life. He said that when the revolver discharged, it was parallel to her body and close to her chin. Despite this ruling, the police continued to investigate. They started to think that Colby may have shot Kristen. There were a few circumstances surrounding the tragedy which were suspicious. For example, Colby had been communicating with another woman through text messages. Several of the messages had a sexual component. He actually texted his lover while he was at the police station. He told her that he couldn't talk, but he wished he could. Despite Colby saying that Kristen did not have life insurance, there were actually 2 policies on her, one through her employer and one through the military. Colby may not have known about the one through her employer, but he definitely knew about the one through the military. 10 days before Kristen was killed, Colby searched the internet to find out the benefit amount for that life insurance policy. Bowls of candy had been set in the kitchen area for Halloween, as if Kristen and Colby had plans to hand out candy to trick-or-treaters, and the alarm on Kristen's phone was sounding when first responders were on the scene. She had set it because she had plans for that day. On November 4, the police interviewed Colby again. He denied searching for the life insurance benefit, saying that Kristen may have used his phone to conduct the search. As far as the text messages to his lover, Colby said that a month before Kristen's death, he met the woman in a group chat while playing a video game. There was no physical component to the relationship. It was just text messages. The police checked up on Colby's story about how Kristen may have been the one who searched for the life insurance benefit. As it turns out, at the time the search was made, Kristen was at work. The only way she could have made the search is if she took Colby's phone with her, but that seemed unlikely. The police believed that Colby was the killer, but the case still did not move forward. This changed in January 2021 when a new county attorney took office. About 6 months later, on July 14, 2021, Colby Trickle was arrested and charged with murder and interference with law enforcement. The interference charge was based on the idea that Colby supplied false information to the police on the day of the shooting and again several days later. Over 2 years later, in September 2023, Colby was convicted of premeditated first-degree murder. In November of that year, he was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 50 years for the murder charge and 6 months for the interference charge. The 50-year sentence in Kansas is referred to as the Hard 50. No credit for good behavior is applied to it. Colby will have to serve every single minute of that sentence. This means he will be released when he is about 80 years old. Now moving to my analysis. Colby Trickle maintains his innocence, and he has a few supporters. They argued that there was simply not enough evidence to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The state, of course, disagreed. They conceded that their case wasn't perfect, but argued that Kristen definitely was not the shooter. The only other person it could have been was Colby. This brings me to the question, was Colby guilty of murder? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that he was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. About a month before Kristen died, Colby started exchanging text messages containing sexual content with a woman he met online. He told the police that he did not believe Kristen knew about the other woman, but told a mental health professional that Kristen did know. 10 days before Kristen died, Colby searched for the benefit amount of her life insurance policy. He claimed that Kristen must have used his phone, but she was at work when that search was made. Colby lied to the police when he said that Kristen did not have a life insurance policy. Colby was described as demanding and controlling. He wanted to know where Kristen was and what she was doing. Kristen did not seem to be depressed, and she had plans for the day she died. For example, she set her alarm, and Halloween candy was out. If she wanted to bring an end to her own life, why would she select that particular time and location? Why not wait until Colby was outside the house? Kristen was only wearing her underwear when she was killed. She was described as a modest person who would not want to be found that way. It seems unusual that Kristen would use a fairly heavy and powerful firearm when she did not like guns or have any experience handling guns. Colby told the police that the .357 Magnum revolver was normally stored on Kristen's side of the bed, yet they found a photograph of the revolver sitting on a small table on Colby's side of the bed. The way Colby acted after the shooting was a little suspicious. He said that he grabbed the revolver, but then put it back on Kristen's body. It's almost like he was setting up a way to explain why his DNA or fingerprints might be found on that revolver. When talking to the police about his job as an intelligence analyst in the Army, Colby said that he had been deployed to the Middle East and to Central America. In reality, he was never sent to any area outside the United States. Kristen had a total of $120,000 in life insurance, $100,000 from the military, and $20,000 through her employer. 2 days after receiving a payout, Colby purchased a high-end, life-size sex doll for $1,942. In addition to this plastic pulsating passion playmate, Colby bought music equipment and video games and paid off debt. All the life insurance money was gone in 8 months. Moving to the exculpatory factors, there was no sign of a struggle in the bedroom where Kristen died. She did not have other injuries or scars. It wasn't like she had been beaten over the course of several months or years. The coroner ruled that Kristen brought an end to her own life. The case went to trial without any change to that ruling. Colby's defense attorney said that Colby was filling out paperwork for his own life insurance policy around the time the search was made for the benefit amount of Kristen's policy. The search was probably just to collect information he needed. The speed at which Colby burned through the money could be explained through low conscientiousness. He wasn't exactly an ambitious person. He appeared to be more interested in video games than meaningful employment. The purchase of the sex doll has an innocent explanation. Colby's mother suggested that her son had nightmares and sleep problems after Kristen died. The silicone sweetheart was meant to provide him comfort and warmth. No type of sexual desire was fulfilled by this mass-produced, molded mannequin mistress. When considering all the evidence, do I think that Colby Trickle was guilty of murder? Yes, in my opinion, he was guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The evidence against Colby is not overwhelming, but it is convincing enough. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Colby was socially awkward, self-centered, grandiose, impulsive, cold, callous, manipulative, arrogant, irresponsible, greedy, and exceedingly creepy. After becoming excited about his new lover, he decided to get rid of his wife. Before following through with this plan, Colby checked to see how much money he would make through her death. After the murder, Colby had less success with women than he expected, which led him to purchase the provocative polymer pleasure puppet. Because Colby did not have any empathy, he did not understand how buying a buoyant, bouncing bubble beauty would look to other people. He expected people to be fine with his decision, but it was interpreted as bizarre, creepy, and cold. Now Colby will spend the rest of his life separated from his one true love. Now moving to my final thoughts. When I learned about Colby's unusual purchase, it led me to a 1-hour research tangent, arguably one of the most disturbing tangents I've encountered in a long time. The sex doll industry is surprisingly large, and the dolls are incredibly expensive. The one that Colby purchased cost him almost $2,000 and a hard $50 in prison. I read quite a bit of information about these dolls, like how much they cost, how they function, and their various features. It was interesting to learn about the level of customization available for those eager to own a fabricated, flirtatious friend. For example, a buyer can select a variety of eye colors, skin colors, hair colors, including hair in all kinds of places, removable tongue, removable genitalia, automatic wiggling, simulated breathing, heated body parts, and oversized components. The posterior region appeared to be a popular target of inflation. I think what was most surprising was the availability of foldable versions. It makes sense that people who travel may want to have a collapsible counterfeit companion. Colby found out firsthand how the possession of a manufactured maiden can lead to a lot of negative judgment. They are not accepted by the larger society, no matter how much their supporters would like to see that happen. Colby being convicted of murder certainly didn't help the image problem of the industry, but they are trying to overcome the tarnished reputation of the laughable, lifelike ladies. One website defended their value by stating that they were not just for weirdos anymore. This has to be the best line in the world to sell any product ever. This may become my go-to line whenever I'm looking to sell anything. For example, don't forget to buy my book. It's not just for weirdos anymore. Those are my thoughts in the case of Colby and Kristen Trickle. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comment section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be informative. Thanks for watching.